How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Today I'm going to talk about life hours, and how you spend your time is actually directly related to how you spend your life. Now, most of us already know that we're not going to live forever and we actually have a limited amount of time to spend. However, it's contradictory because most people actually just waste away their time doing things that are not productive. This video, I'm going to show you a typical example of how most of us spends our lifetimes. Now over here on the bottom, I created a chart where the height of the item is actually the years you spent doing that thing. It goes through 4 stages of life. Basically, when you're a kid, you're 0 to 18 years old, thus spending 18 years in that stage. In college, you're 19 to 22, roughly 4 years in it. You might opt to go to grad school or further education, and that will take away from your adult working life. Then if you decide to go to work right when you're 23, and this is actually 43 years of your life. The height of this table is to scale, so you can just kind of eyeball and see how much time you actually spend doing each item. When you retire from the age of 66 to 79, it's actually 14 years spent in retirement. I use the age of 79 as the ending because that's the average life expectancy of a person in the United States. Now you can see on the left side here, most of us would sleep around 8 hours. Perhaps when you're younger, you might sleep closer to 10, 11, or 12 hours. And then when you age, you possibly sleep less and less, not the exact 8 hours. When you're older, you might sleep something like 6 hours instead. Now right there, just from sleep, you already use 1/3 of your life in sleeping. Now this is something you can't just not do because most of us require sleep. So you could argue that sleeping is something that is required, so therefore you don't really take into consideration how much time you're actually using. You could talk about how much time that you're actually using in your waking hours instead. Now as a kid or adult, I assume you use 1 hour to eat lunch, 1 hour to eat dinner. If you happen to use less time to eat, or maybe you do something while you're eating, then you might be able to save some time. Although I don't quite recommend doing other things while you're eating because it's important to concentrate and really taste the flavor of what you're eating to really enjoy yourself in the moment. On the third column over here, it's chores. Everybody has chores, and I allocate about 1 hour every day for someone to do chores. On average, you might not do any chores for a whole week, and then maybe on a weekend you do chores all day long. So this chart is kind of rough because it sort of reflects a weekday rather than the weekend. So all these are just estimates. Everybody uses their time differently, but I just want to give a ballpark kind of thing so you can just look at it and go, oh my gosh, yeah, I am spending so much time on a certain item. If you're a kid or in college, you go through a lot of school and a lot of hours doing homework. For a kid or a person going to college, you may spend significant time doing homework, and then you sprinkle in a little bit of leisure time. You might have maybe an hour or two every single day for leisure, such as, I don't know, watching cartoons or whatnot. For a working person though, you see there's 8 hours of work here, possibly more. You have about 1 hour of driving, which is commute. You may have half an hour driving to work and half an hour coming back from work. So I estimate that being 1 hour. Some people have such bad commutes that it's 3 hours to work, 3 hours back. This is just my estimate. It's not really important how much you put in this chart or anything. You don't have to put your own numbers in. But I just want to describe to you the theories behind it and how much time you're using for each item. For a typical working person, every single day you might have a few hours to yourself. This might come down to after you get home, you might have some time to maybe watch one movie. You might have time to watch a little bit of TV. You might have time to do your hobby a little bit. You might use this time to cook dinner or anything else that you like to do generally. And I allocate about 4 hours every single day to do this on average. You realize though, a lot of people who are working actually have no free time during the weekday at all. You could argue that every single day that you have work, you actually had to sleep in order to work. This is like a required thing for you to be functional at work. In order to feel fine and work, you also have to eat. So you could kind of say that during that day of work weekday, you spent those 8 hours of sleep and those 2 hours to eat for the purpose of work. The driving to and from work, it's more obvious because you actually have to go to work and you kind of count that. Oh, that's kind of part of work. So then you really don't spend 8 hours working. You spend maybe 9 hours working because of commute. And then maybe if you add in lunch hour as well, it's actually 10 hours that you're away from home actually going to work. On top of this, after you spend 10 hours doing work related things, after you get home, you still have to eat, which might be the cause of going to work because you got hungry going to work and then therefore you have to eat dinner. The 4 hours at the end of the work chart that says fun, could actually be considered recovery time, because a lot of people who actually go to work might be so tired or might be so stressed out that you need to de-stress, so you just go home, you have to plop down on a couch or something and just to relax somehow. And you could also consider this not really actually your leisure time. You are actually using this in order to de-stress yourself. So in a way, you could also consider these 4 hours part of work, because you are using this to recover yourself so that you are fresh and clean the next day, so that you can actually do those 8 hours of additional work. This is just something to think about, because I personally have worked for several years in a row, and some years I would realize that those years just completely pass by really fast without me actually doing anything for myself. I really want you guys to realize this yourself, because if you're just on this automatic mode where after work you're just doing stuff just to recover, then you might find yourself or your life pass by really fast, and this is the exact thing you want to stop from happening. The way that you can actually stop this from happening is be very aware of the time you spend after work. You can be very strict with yourself. Make sure that you always do something for yourself outside of work. This might actually take a bit of effort, because you might want to use this time for recovery time where you want to relax and stuff, but instead you might have to use this to spend it on something that you actually want to accomplish. Finally, at the retired stage, you have about 14 years of retirement. Of course, you don't know how much longer you're gonna live. Retired people might sleep only 6 hours every single day. They might take longer to eat. They might actually do a lot less chores, because if they're retired and they have the money to pay for it, they might be able to hire other people to do their chores for them. It's mainly many hours of fun. It says fun, but this might not actually be just sitting around and just doing whatever you want. That's just always fun. The way I would recommend a retired person to spend all this fun time, you see there's 8, 12, 13 hours of fun time every single day that they can use to do something. Now, as an old person, you probably don't have the physical abilities to do a lot of manual labor or anything like that. But you do have time on your hands, and you can use it to do something that you enjoy, some passion that you have, rather than just sit around, watch TV, and just have time pass by. So to me, retirement at 66 or 79 is really not retirement from working at all. It's really like you just keep on working, except maybe you might not be paid very much for it, but then you get to do what you really want to do. So thanks for watching. I hope this video helps you look at your time differently and just kind of treat it as a non-renewable resource and something that you cannot get back as soon as you spend it. As you see in the chart that I outlined before, that is all the time you get. I listed all of the hours that you are able to get. Each section of that graph is a limited amount of time that you have on Earth that you can choose where to actually put. Now, if you choose all that leisure time that you have, you can actually put it anywhere you want. When you look at it this way, you might just kind of go, wait a minute, is this it? Should I really just use all this time to do something that could be automated or things that's not worthwhile? So it kind of makes you think in trying to use your time in a new way where it's not just manual labor, because if it's manual labor, you're just doing something that other people or machines could be doing instead of you. Now, if you look at my face, you might realize that I kind of look a little off color. That's because I was climbing Mount Shasta last weekend and I just got sunburned like this area right here. Let me just show you this picture of where I was. I climbed all the way to this peak over here. It's not actually the actual peak because I couldn't make it. I just actually didn't have enough physical power to make it that far. Don't forget to give me a like on this video, comment down below. Let me know if this video helps you think about your time and how you should treat it more importantly. If you're interested in supporting this channel, I have an Audible link down in the video description below where you can actually get a free audiobook, and if you don't like the audiobook or the service, you can cancel it before the trial period expires and it won't charge you a thing, and you can still help benefit this channel. I also have a Patreon over here, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.